Welcome to Arrow News Channel. Like and subscribe to update news around the world. Former Attorney General Eric Holder is one of those classic politicians that delights his party and infuriates the other side. He served faithfully under former President Obama as the Attorney General, where he was the first person to hold that office to be held in contempt of Congress for withholding documents in an ongoing congressional probe. This is the same Holder who is considering a presidential bid for the 2020 election. Many believe this to be an exciting prospect on both sides. It would give liberals hope for what would likely be an Obama 2.0, and it encourages the right because he's not the middle ground candidate that the left desperately needs if they plan to oust President Trump. His political chances decrease by the day because of how plain-spoken he was in the past about the real liberal agenda. His support of overly restrictive regulations has shown time and again that he represents a faction of the political insiders who want to strip Americans of their rights and rob this nation for whatever they can take from it. Holder's controversial opinions were brought up again in 2016 when the then presidential candidates were asked how they would deal with curbing the potential for problems like what happened in Parkland, Florida last week. PolitiFact reported that Senator Cruz referred to Holder's gun policies as the exact opposite to what needs to be done to cure gun violence. During the Republican presidential debate in North Charleston, South Carolina, Senator Ted Cruz, Republican Texas, relitigated the background of President Barack Obama's former Attorney General, Eric Holder. One of the debate moderators, Maria Bartiromo of Fox Business Network, asked Cruz for the answer to stopping mass shootings and violent crime. "The answer is simple," he said. "You prosecute criminals. You target the bad guys." A minute ago, co-debate moderator Neil Cavuto asked, "What has President Obama done to illustrate that he wants to go after guns?" Well, he appointed Eric Holder as Attorney General. Eric Holder said he viewed his mission as brainwashing the American people against guns. He appointed Sonia Sotomayor to the Supreme Court, someone who has been a radical against the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. We raised our eyebrows at Cruz's mention of Holder and what he said. Is Cruz right? Let's go to the videotape from back in 1995, a time when there really were such things as videotapes. In January 1995, Holder, then the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, gave a speech announcing a plan to curb gun violence in the city of Washington, D.C. Here's a portion of the speech, recorded by C-SPAN. "What we need to do is change the way in which people think about guns, especially young people, and make it something that's not cool, that it's not acceptable, it's not hip to carry a gun anymore, in the way in which we changed our attitudes about cigarettes," Holder said. He later added, "We have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it Monday. We need to do this every day of the week, and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way." As conservatives try not to have trigger words or phrases, but brainwashing would be on the list if they had one. Confiscation would also be at the top in regards to gun control debates. This opinion would be slightly more palatable if this were someone whose heart was truly in keeping this country on the straight and narrow to preserve our quality of life. However, this gem named Holder seems to be willing to break the law if it serves his agenda. In 2012, the House of Representatives voted to hold Holder in contempt of Congress over his failure to turn over documents related to the Fast and Furious scandal. As Daralissa, RCA, pointed out in 2014, when Obama's Department of Justice finally released thousands of documents related to Operation Fast and Furious that Obama had previously claimed were exempt from congressional review, when Eric Holder wants to know why he was the first Attorney General held in criminal contempt of Congress, he can read the judge's order that compelled the production of 64,280 pages that he and President Obama illegitimately and illegally withheld from Congress. Holder's legacy includes his refusal to prosecute the new Black Panther Party for voter intimidation, his department monitoring Fox News' James Rosen's phone calls and emails, and his decision to try Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the planner of the September 11 attacks, and his co-defendants in federal court in New York instead of military tribunals in Guantanamo Bay. Every once in a while we get a glimpse into the real political agenda of the left. Disarmament is just one part of the plan, but it's an essential part that a significant portion of Americans are against. Any disliked political agenda will struggle to move forward as long as we can physically stop it. If anyone convinces us to lay down our means of defense willingly, then we open ourselves to attacks that could be a massive detriment to mankind.